Last night's Buffalo Bills 31-10 win against the Miami Dolphins was frustrating to me on a couple of different fronts. One was the apparent concussion suffered by Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, and the other one was the offensive scheme and thought process of Miami's offensive coordinator, and also to a certain extent, game analyst Kirk Herbstreit. This is QB Unfiltered, my take. Thursday Night Football.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Okay, let's start with the Tua play. Okay, I've talked about pass protection from the running back position in another show I did on University of Utah's Cam Rising. And I talked about the fact that the Utes coaching staff, the running back coach, does a hell of a job with his backs pass blocking. And that's such a integral part of the passing game in teams that run one back and they spread it out and throw it. That running back has to be able to pass block. And what we're talking about in most situations is when the running back has to block somebody, it's a blitzing linebacker. And in my opinion, pass blocking from the running back position is a matter of want to. In other words, you've got to want to do it. And at the NFL level, there's a lot of dudes that don't want to pass block. And that's pretty evident with what goes on here. Miami's running back. You can see Buffalo bringing the blitz from the inside, B-gap blitz. And instead of the back squaring up and going to battle with this dude, he just dives into the ground, just enough to make it look like he's trying to block the guy. And as he's going into the ground, I'm sure he's yelling, "Look out, Tua." Well, that forces Tua to put the ball under his arm like right now, and he's upfield running, and the rest is history. And so he was forced to go straight up the gut, and I know he's trying to get the first down. Okay, it's 4th and 4. I also know that offensive players, especially guys that make it to the NFL and have been playing for years and years and years, offensive guys know where the yardage is they need to get for first downs. They don't have to turn their head and look to the sideline to see the sticks. They just know on the field. They've got it in their head. They got it in that GPS, that feel. They know where it is. Okay, so Tua has the first down, and all he has to do is get down and protect himself. Now, I watched this play happen in real time, and I'm going, you have got to be kidding me, Tua. So instead of pulling a Lou Brock, which is what he should have done, on his ass, feet first, slide, protect the football, but more importantly, protect himself. Or if he's going to go head first, which is what he ended up doing, just dive down into the ground, protect the football, get the first down, and protect yourself. So we got to preface this by saying the most shocking part of this whole scenario that went down last night with Tua, he has history with concussions. And this goes back to playing at the University of Alabama. I know he had a really bad one against the Cincinnati Bengals. So he's got concussion issues. What are you doing going head first into a tackle and really initiating the hit? Tua initiated the hit on him. Okay, Damar Hamlin, the DB for the Bills, he's not a tackle guy. He's not a hitter. He's a cover guy. Tua goes in feet first with a slide or head first with a dive. He's just tagged down with a hand, and he's down, he gets up, and they run the next play. But he leads with his head and initiates the contact with Hamlin. Hamlin didn't even tackle him. Tua jammed his helmet into his quad or his hip or whatever it was, and he got this snapping action with his head driven to the side. And anybody that's played football for an extended period of time, either themselves or knowing teammates that are like this, if you have a couple of concussions, especially a bad one thrown in there at some point in time, you are susceptible to the slightest of hits and you're going to be in trouble. And so the fact that he got his head whiplashed to the side on contact that he initiated, that was it. And there is no doubt about it. Tua was out for a couple of seconds. I mean, his teammates are waving in the training staff off the sideline. It was very, very apparent that when that collision happened and he was on the ground, he was out. And it was a scary deal. You know, scary for everybody concerned, but you play the game, you play football, you play quarterback. Of course, that's part of it. The amazing thing to me is, why in the hell wasn't he protecting himself on that run? Which leads me to this. Is that being talked about in the Miami Dolphin quarterback room? In meetings? Is that being preached and talked about on the practice field? I know when I coached my guys for 36 years or however long I coached quarterbacks for, we were constantly talking about that. I was constantly telling those guys, if you are forced to run with the ball, get what you can get and then get down and protect yourself. And that's something that is drilled into quarterbacks' heads, even at the NFL level. And so you've got a guy that has a concussion history, and he goes out there and does what he does last night. Now, Miami's QB coach, he could be saying this every day of the week. I don't know. It's just a question mark in my mind that's not being covered with the quarterbacks there for the Dolphins. And that's really a shame, because here's what's going on now with Coach McDaniel in Miami. And I don't know what's going to happen moving forward with this. His number one concern, obviously, is for his guy, okay, his quarterback. But it doesn't matter what level you coach at, high school, college, NFL, when your starting quarterback goes down with an injury, it changes your season dramatically and instantly. And the reason why is because I don't care where you are, your number two quarterback is not nearly as good as your starter. He's just not. Plus, your starter gets most of the reps, especially in the NFL. Your starter gets pretty much all the reps all week in practice. We're talking about, timing with the receivers. We're talking about voice inflection on snap counts, checks, whatever, calling plays in the huddle. As soon as you put a different guy in there, it's a different ball game. And so, one of the frustrating things for me when I watch different podcasts, or I listen to even comments and read comments on my show of guys that sort of have a problem with me saying, I don't want my quarterbacks running the ball. I want them staying in the pocket and throwing it, or managing the pocket and checking it down. But this thing about dual quarterbacks and what a threat they are and how much pressure they put on the defense, yeah, that's cool to talk about. But just remember this, when your starter goes down because of an unnecessary hit, concussion, separated shoulder, broken collarbone, blown knee, your season is changed dramatically. Okay, second issue in the game last night, and this goes now to Miami's offensive scheme, and really you could say this about the NFL in general. But I found it pretty interesting that today there were a couple different podcasts out there talking about what has happened to the passing game in the NFL. And then last night, I was going through my Twitter feed, and Jason Brown, who goes by the Real Coach JB, former JC coach, does his own podcast. He tweeted out, what the hell is going on with NFL quarterbacks? All they can throw are bubble screens and hitches. And my response to that was, yeah, you're right, but I think that we need to look at the guys that are coaching those quarterbacks, and we need to look at the schemes. Okay, and I'm going to tie that in with this. Kirk Herbstreit, who he's a guy that's always an interesting guy for me as an analyst. He's a former quarterback, Ohio State. He said last night during the game that a lot of NFL defenses now are playing these spread offensive formations in two safeties high, a cover two look. And that is true. And he said this, that when teams are playing this now, it makes it very difficult for offenses to throw the ball downfield. And that line right there is incorrect. It is incorrect. And my argument to him is every offensive coordinator from high school to the college level who knows what they're doing throwing the football, who's very successful at throwing the football, that's all they see is too high. A 5-man box, two safeties on or near the hash, playing cover 2 zone or playing quarters or cover 4, but two safeties high. And that hasn't slowed any of these pass offenses down. So I think what's happening is Herbstreit's way of looking at this. And he also said, when they play two safeties high like that, it really forces the offenses to run the ball. All of that stuff now, I think, rattles around the heads of a lot of NFL offensive coordinators, and it's just an incorrect way to look at it. If you look at this chart here that I'm putting up, this is a 2x2 formation offensively, okay? 4 true wideouts with 1 back. This is pretty much the defense that you're going to get against this look. All right. It's a 5-man box. And what I've got drawn up in the chart is a 4-1 front, 4 down guys, 1 linebacker in the box. And then you've got the 2 safeties high. Now I used the orange rectangles to put in where all the gaps and holes and patches of grass are in this coverage. And then the black and orange rectangles are the intermediate to deep throws where you can really gash this coverage. And there are holes all over the place. And you go back and you look at guys that know what they're doing throwing the football. Andy Reid at the NFL level, Cliff Kingsbury at the NFL level, Lincoln Riley at the college level, the late great Mike Leach at the college level. Those guys saw nothing but 2 safeties high, 5-man box, and gashed it throwing the football. And it wasn't just hitches and bubble screens. Okay, you can look at all these areas on this chart here and all those holes and all those places to attack. That comes now with what's being coached to the NFL quarterbacks in the meeting rooms and on the practice field. hey, we're seeing cover 2, so we maybe have to check out of this pass and run the ball, or let's throw it short and see what we can get there. Against these defensive looks where Herb Street says that it's difficult to throw the ball downfield and it forces offenses to run it, that's bullshit. You can do anything you want against a 4-man front or a 32 front, 5 in the box, 2 safeties high. You can throw the quick game. You can throw the intermediate game. You can throw the ball deep. You can throw RPOs. You can throw screens, and you can run the football. In other words, run your damn offense and coach your quarterback up on how to attack these coverages and where to go with the football when it's snapped. So last night we saw both starting quarterbacks throw for 150 yards or less. Now, Josh Allen was handcuffed in the fact that defensively they gave the Bills offense the rock a lot of times with a short field. And at the end of the day, Buffalo scores 31 points and runs 45 snaps. 45 snaps. We're talking about 11 snaps a quarter. That's ridiculous, but they're going to take that win, obviously. But the fact that you're seeing these quarterbacks throw for 130, 120, 110, whatever, that is not cutting it offensively for NFL quarterbacks and offensive coordinators and schemes. Now, I mentioned earlier about a couple podcasts saying what in the world has gone on with the NFL passing game. I've been saying this for about 3 or 4 seasons. And I think the problem starts in college football. Now, this is a show that I could do standalone, talk about it, which I will do down the road. But if you've been paying attention to college football in the last 3 or 4 seasons, the games statistically by these offenses have been horrific. Horrific. We're talking about taking the air out of the football, running 45 or 50 plays in a game, throwing the ball less than 20 times, completing 5 to 8 passes for 75 yards, ripping off a staggering 10 first downs in a game. It's just crazy. That's been going on from the West Coast to the East Coast and everywhere in between for the most part in the last 3 or 4 seasons. Offenses that run schemes and put up numbers like that, their quarterbacks are not being coached and taught during practice and in the meeting rooms the things that they need to take it to the next level if they have the ability to play in the NFL. I'm talking about things like the ability to read coverages, the ability to work a pocket, the ability to throw with guys in your face, the ability to understand pass protections, to make pass protection checks, blitz checks, all of that stuff. Anticipating throws. That's the one thing that blows me away with a lot of NFL quarterbacks is these guys look like deer in headlights. And the ball should have been out of their hand on reads that are easy enough for high school quarterbacks to make, and these guys just aren't doing it. So college football is the training ground for these quarterbacks to go into the NFL. I think what the NFL is getting out of college in the last few years is guys with very poor skills physically and mentally, and it shows on game day in the NFL. Okay, that's just my reaction to the game last night. I don't do a lot of NFL stuff, but the thing with Tua really amazed me, and hopefully, he's going to be okay. I want him to make the right decisions, for him and his family moving forward. But holy cow, protect yourself out there, young man. Protect yourself. Okay, be on the lookout for my reaction to tomorrow's game between Alabama and Wisconsin. I'm going to focus on Bama quarterback Jalen Milroe. That'll be coming up this next week. Let me know in the comments what you think below. And this is QB Unfiltered. And remember, always throw the ball short to guys who can score. See ya.
I got no